So tonight I am going to go into um, conversation about my experience at Whirlpool. Like right after I left Michigan, I left there because I had been dealing with a lot of stuff in life, and I came into the one situation with my son's father, Timothy Deegan, which happened to be a white male, and he had a whole entire family on the side, a girlfriend and two children that he had not disclosed that information to me. We ended up having a child, and because my child was of black descent or had black descent, I was told by the girlfriend, his ex-girlfriend, that my son was not accepted into their family. So I just, after that whole situation fell out, and nobody was innocent in that situation. God honest, nobody was innocent. But in the end, in the beginning, it was like we were trying to, I can't speak for him, but I was trying to find something new since I had been abandoned so many different times by black men. I was just reaching out and doing something different. And I ended up meeting this man, and I really liked him. And we began to start, you know, pushing forward and hanging out and stuff like that, where maybe it wasn't as important to him, but it was toward me. But then to find out he had a family, that was kind of devastating. So I had to move on, had to endure all the talk about, us not being accepted, us being rejected because we were of African descent. We had to deal with, you know, other people acting as if we were inferior because we were of color and we could not be taken care of. And it was just another blow to our system, because it was a blow to our system because it already happened before. And I couldn't understand why someone would take that action against me when I honestly went in with my heart open and I came out with a child. I still took care of that child. I loved him and I cared for him and I took care of him along with my other children. And it hurt me. And I came to the conclusion that it was time for me to pick up and move on. So, I picked up my kids and we came with everything that we had. We packed it into a car and we moved to Ohio. I was down for a little while. My arm was immobile, but as soon as I was able to get back up and moving, I was up and moving. Like, we were up and moving. And I got a job at the hotel. I was working at the hotel, loved it. Then I started having issues with, you know, them switching up my scheduling and everything being fine. But as soon as we hit a certain point in time, like, they're switching stuff up and they're forcing you to do stuff that's against your, availability, and that's against your life calling. Like, so it's like talking to you any kind of way. Then I had people that were of white descent that were, that would basically just they would get jealous. I would have this one woman, she was asking me questions about my life, my children. Um, you know, she was not happy about the fact that I had a child by a white man, but she just became very and I was very quiet. I opened up at a very, at a later time where we had begun to be more open, and then people start sneaking around and saying things, and then you're back in that same circle again. And it's like, I don't even understand why I trust people. Just be quiet. Don't say nothing. Go to work, get your money, and go home. And when you try to do that, it's like, then people are trying to pull you into these getting to know you, and it's always that deal. It's always that deal. So what I ended up doing was I was putting together my plan and my goal to achieve to basically achieve coming up with a plan to fulfill the promises that I had made to my 3 children, Robert, Avery, and Evan. And I was working 2 jobs. I had got a job at Whirlpool, and I was working 2 jobs 7 days a week. And not both jobs 7 days a week, but I worked one job 5 days, and then I would work the other job 2 days out of the week. I was working 7 days straight for months at an end, trying to make ends meet, make money that would bring me to a place where I could provide for my children. So what was happening was that I would go to work at this place, Whirlpool, and I worked in Clyde, Ohio, on line 7 on the overnight shift. My shift was from 9:55 to, I believe, 6:55. And to be completely honest, I loved that job because it was like the beginning of, it was challenging for me. I went my entire life feeling like I worked so hard in my mind trying to fulfill the calling of becoming a doctor, and trying hard to learn, trying hard to process information, and it's just not sticking to your brain. Like, you get information that comes to you, but the information that you need to come to you or to stay with you, you could not remember it. So all of us, I just struggled. I didn't have as much help and, guidance. So I struggled. I did the best that I could. And I wasn't necessarily crippled to a point where I could not remember. I could not process information. I could not be, I couldn't be operative in the workplace, the work environment, but still it didn't matter. I was being made fun of. I was being talked about. I was being teased. And leaders would be standing right there. They would be standing right there watching me get made fun of. And there were people. One named Carrie Crest. One name, I think her name was Jennifer. She was on overnight. She was like the second manager. There was a manager. I can't really say for sure if he was involved in this stuff. I don't believe him to be involved. But if he was in any kind of way, it would break my heart, because I don't know. But his name was Gregory Kiefer. Then also, Troy, I can't remember his last name. Ray Diaz. situations with people, Denzel Ingram or something like that. He wasn't a leader, but it was a lot of people that was there, and they were there, right there when the stuff was happening. And I'm like, one girl, her name was Alyssa Ramos, that was training me. And, it was just days where people who was training me would stand behind me and make fun of me. They would do so many things to try to, hurt me and make me feel a certain way. And I would just sit back and watch these people just saying and doing a lot of messed up stuff to me. And so it's to a point where, I had a breakdown. I went to church, and that kind of stopped working for me. It's never honestly really worked for me, and it's sad that I have to be quiet about it, because I feel bitter. I feel bitter that I feel like God worked for certain people and he didn't work for me. This God that people had done sold to me for years and years and years. I feel like he worked for everybody else. He loved everybody else and treated everybody else well. But I feel like he didn't work for me. And you could possibly look around and see something totally and completely different. But that's just the way that I feel in my heart. I feel abandoned in my soul for the things that I experienced throughout life, for the ways that life looked so unfair. And it was like somebody was there depriving me of love and justice. They were physically there. Like, I can see them in people. I can see them physically depriving me of justice. An unfair ground for this life. So it's like you have to keep saying, man, that's so unfair. That's not fair. It's not fair. Getting beat up, towed down, mistreated. It was unfair. So I would go to work and I would sit up and I would cry every single day. I would sit up and I would cry, and nobody was just like, I was doing everything I could. And they didn't help me. They just act like everything was fine. They act like everything was fine. They allowed it to happen. They did. There was days where people would make comments and they would be laughing and, fanning their nose and stuff like that. And I feel like it drove me into a place where I had issues breathing. I had issues didn't really know what was going on, because I had lived in a life full of, we were raised in religion. We were raised and rooted in something different. And when I came to Michigan, my life began, when I came to Ohio, my life began to change, where I didn't feel so afraid to seek other leads of spirituality, because one had not worked for me. So what I did was I just started seeking my peace, just, affirming myself. And no matter how many times No matter how many times, like, I tried to affirm myself that I was somebody and that I could do what it was that I was setting out to do. And they would continuously break me down some kind of way. I would try to build myself up, and I would get broke down in some kind of way where somebody would bring me down. I would feel happy, and then I would deal with my son, my baby, going to school and getting beat up or pushed down, and people not having anything to do about it. Like, I dealt with some shit. I dealt with something, and nobody came to my rescue. And I began to feel bitter. I began to feel so bitter that these people had after everything, the love that I felt and I gave towards people my entire life, and nobody knew my heart. Nobody else even knew my heart. And I did so many good things for people, and it just come back that they just continue to tear people down. People that look like me, you get tired and you can't even love yourself because people just want to put you down. And you finally get to a place where you can find out and figure out exactly who you are. It's like people don't want you to love yourself. People want you to hang yourself over all the time. People want you to hand your life over all the time in order to be able to experience acceptance. I've always dealt with having to be someone else. Nobody get to be themselves. And that sucks. And so I worked there. There was this girl, her name was Shauna Atkins. She's working in one area, and she's a beautiful girl. And she transferred to overnights, and she would make all these comments. They would look at me in a way like they would look at me and make dirty faces. They would act up. She would make comments about a smell, like, and I did, I did everything that I could to make it feasible for the people that worked there, but they did nothing but made fun of me. They made fun of me. They treated me like trash. And anybody that I talked to, anybody that helped me, anybody at all, they would fire them or they would get rid of them. And so anybody that was a help to me or anybody that, pushed or gave me any information, they would basically get fired. Anybody that was near me, anybody that would get near to me, they would fire. They would get fired or pushed away in some kind of way. And Probably Timothy Deegan. I don't know. I keep thinking. But that situation was really messed up, and the girlfriend sending information, and the way we kind of fell out because of it makes me believe that it could be him in some kind of way. I don't know. I hope not. But I don't know. But anywho. The girl, her name is Shauna Atkins. I was on the line one day working in this one area, and every time I would get, they would start making faces, they would start running and, acting up, acting like it was me, so I would literally, I'm sorry, I put some tissue in the toilet. So, my nose is so stopped up. Gotta wear a coat. So, hold on. So, I ended up, one day I was working my one area and she would get mad and upset. And she would, this one day I was working it, she was like, oh my God. I was like, oh my God. It smells like an animal. And she was like, you're disgusting. And just started going off and saying a whole bunch of stuff. And I was upset. I was pissed off. And then, come around. I ended up losing my cool about it. And I ended up losing my cool. And I ended up basically going off. Like, yeah, I heard what you said. And I asked her if she had something she wanted to say to me. So she was looking around. And other people was looking around like they didn't know what was going on or whatever. So I took a break off the line and I spoke with the manager that was there. So she had made it so that she took a statement and she said she's doing all this questioning and stuff going on, but the questioning, is not doing nothing. So I came back, and because this was the last straw for the situation, because I had been back and forth to Carrie Crest so many times about the behavior that was going on, the people that kept playing with me and messing all over me, and nobody was doing nothing. So I came back and I told her about it. I wrote out a statement. And so we came back. Human Resources came back, talked, and, they say, well, no claims was substantiated. They unsubstantiated the claim that, the girl said this and, I had no proof that it happened. So I was like, okay. So, so I was just at this point, like, I was humiliated because people were sitting up laughing about it. So I was like, I would like to be moved. So when that happened, she ended up moving me. And to another line. Same thing was happening there. And people was messing with me so bad. They was messing with me so bad. They was messing with me, messing over me so bad. And, you know, they had put me in one area where I wasn't supposed to worry about, you know, I was supposed to have been like a extra or whatever, where I wouldn't have to worry about this problem. But then someone had complained about me, and they ended up taking my position away from me and giving it to somebody else. So, and then sent me somewhere to basically at the end of the line where I was being mistreated and stuff there too. So, you know, it came to the point where words was exchanged from another leader, and that leader ended up, you know, I ended up going to the leader of that line and telling on him, and she ended up telling me, you know, it's not about, like, whatever the case may be, I don't care. It was like, you doing this, you know, hold on, wait a minute. Because I told her that he was harassing me. It was harassment. You mess with me, you're not picking on other people, you're picking on me. And I'm having to deal with the hurt and the pain that you're putting me through. So it was like, I'm dealing with this stuff. And so she just made a big scene. And at that point in time, I had been back and forth to the doctors dealing with, you know, the anxiety and the depression so bad, taking the medication, which made the condition even worse. So after I had did that, my doctor, you know, I went back to work one day and there was a big blowout. The doctor was, or not the doctor, but the leader of the one area was lying on me and saying that I was not doing my work, that I was causing them to slow down or whatever. So I was telling them what was actually happening. Somebody before me was causing, you know, was having issues, which was causing me to be slow, and they ended up pulling me from that area and putting me somewhere else. So then, you know, I went over there, and, you know, I was doing okay and fine until one of the people was like, she getting dizzy and falling out and all this other stuff, and something made her fall. Like, they asking, what is that smell? It's a smell, you know, what is that smell? And people is like looking around, some people talking and whispering. And then the lady, her name was Yolanda Prochnow, she had went and talked to somebody. So then they took me off the area where I was at and stuck me somewhere else, because one of the girls had ended up like getting dizzy and was finna pass out. So they ended up taking her, dealing with her. They kept looking, I kept looking at them. And then, you know, like, so they ended up moving me from the area where those girls were and putting me somewhere else. And I was pissed off because it's like, I am here and I keep having to deal with the same situation over and over and over again about what's happening to me, what happened to me. So I went to my doctor. Actually, that night I was so upset in the detail, just in the detail of how I was being treated, that I ended up hurting myself at work. And I told the leader, she was not concerned at all. They didn't care. You know, I mistakenly hurt myself, and they didn't care. They didn't. They did not care. They said, you know, well, did you want to go to the help center or to the little medical office? And I was just like, you know, it's 5 minutes before it's time to go. I'm gonna leave here and go to the doctor. So I ended up leaving work and going to the doctor because I had to get my kids off to school. I had a whole bunch of stuff that had to happen. And they ended up basically taking me off work for a while. So I believe I was off of work for, I saved my, the money that I usually get for, because at that point in time, the child support was very scarce. I wasn't getting much child support. So it was like I had to, the money that I got back from taxes at the end of the year. I worked so hard, and the money that I got back, I just used that money to take a break so that I could take care of my family with it. And they gave me so hard of a time even getting the money at all. They gave me a hard time to even be able to get the money. And so I got it for a little bit of time, and I didn't get it after that. So after that, I ended up going back to work, and they ended up putting me in an area on line 3 in one area. It was just like I can't really, I can't remember it per se because it's been a while, the specific area. But I went there and I was telling the manager, because the manager, Gregory Keeper, he was there. And I was telling him I'm nervous about coming back here because, all the things that was happening. He was saying, well, this is a pretty cool area over here. It's kind of low moderate, like you'd be able to get along with these people. And I was just kind of nervous because I had already went through the situation with these people already. So what happened is that, they was talking to me and trying to say some stuff, and it was just like, okay, I'm just going to stay to myself, because every time I try to get close to these people or deal with them like that, they end up acting up. So I'm not going to end up talking to nobody or dealing with nobody. I'm just finna stay to myself. So, I did my, my meditating, and, I changed the way I was eating for the past couple years. I meditated, I prayed for myself. I prayed for others. I set intentions to be successful, and I had just lived in that. You know what I'm saying? I just lived in that I would be able to grow and get what I needed from that. So, but it was not that long before I started seeing those issues and problems all over again. People making, leaders, they would get frustrated for having to work with me, and they would be making little conversations here or there about my condition, people not wanting to work with me because of it. And it was wrong. It was wrong. And, in my way, I believe that, everything happened for a reason, but it was so hurtful. It was so hard and hurtful. And, I spoke to so many people about it, and it's kind of embarrassing being a woman with issues that people do not understand, and they're making fun of you, and you're looking at people stand by and make fun of that situation, and it's hurtful. It's harmful, and you're just like, I don't know what to say or do. Beside either give up or just go hard at proving that these things are happening to you. So, at another point in time, that's when I started to, you know, get into the world of spiritual, like more, meditating more. I would spend most of my day to just kind of calm me down, meditating and focusing on love, focusing on sending love to other people, and but I'm gonna talk about that in a different video. That's connected, this whole situation that is connected to the experience that I had with that. I'm going to talk about that in a separate video. But I began to go through things where, one of the leaders touched me on my behind, and, they made a lot of jokes about me. They talked about me. They did a lot of things to me, and it was more so, it was affecting me, but it was affecting my children, and I dealt with that accordingly. So what happened was, as I was saying to, telling the managers, one manager in person or in specific, that was a major disappointment to me, was Curtis Manuel, because I would speak to him and he would approach me in a way that didn't make me feel comfortable. It didn't make me feel comfort. It was just like, I know that he's connected to these people that has been here before I got here, and all of a sudden you're coming here, you're listening to people make comments about you and your condition, and when you speak out about it, because at first I wasn't going to even talk about it. It was like someone wanted me to just continue to take all the things that was happening to me and just be quiet. And I was speaking out. And the more I would speak out, they would get angry. My car was getting keyed up. All kinds of stuff was happening to me. People was doing all kinds of stuff to me. Keying my car, breaking in my car. I was being followed to work. All kinds of stuff. I went to the police. I went to the Clyde Police Department, and here on Police Department to talk about some of the stuff. I have police reports, and nothing came of it. Nothing came of it at all. Nothing came of it. I had consulted lawyers on the demise of what was happening to me, and people did not people didn't care. So what happened to me was that I just, I started recording things. I started making videos of things. I started making videos. I started recording. I started sending more emails. I started making more calls and more, complaints against what was going on. And a lot of the times I would sit because I knew that certain people were connected to certain people. I would watch because I didn't feel comfortable at all. I would watch and see who hung with who. Because, comments and stuff was being ensued, and I would know who to talk to, who not to talk to, what to do and what not to do, who I could talk to and who I couldn't talk to. So there were certain people that I knew was planted. They were planted in that area to, try to get information out for you. They talking. And you don't talk for a long time. Like, I wasn't saying them for a long time until, I had reported some things that was going on, and then all of a sudden the people that was doing these things to you, they are not apologizing for what they did. They're trying to become your friend. I want to be your friend and ask you questions about your life, your children, all kinds of stuff like that. Now, the one chick, her name is Devin Failer. She's a witch. She openly admitted that she was a witch. When you go to her Facebook page, she has a peril across her page about being a witch. And, I had a conversation with her, and I had a lot of friends that, that dabbed in that stuff. And it was like, okay, that's fine. You could, I don't necessarily care what people do because you have free will to do it. But truth of the matter is that, I was tired of them picking on me. So I would say all kinds of stuff to deter them from messing with me. Because being quiet wasn't working. It was like, okay, say this and say that, for people to know and understand that I ain't the one, So what had happened was I had spoke to human resources. I would call them, they would be laughing and, giggling and stuff like that. I would be talking to my friends to kind of keep me up to date, and I would watch tarot to kind of keep me up to date about, the things that was going on, what was really happening, who was doing what, so that I would know exactly who was doing what and why they were doing it. But it was to the point where it was intense. I felt so abandoned. I felt so alone and abandoned. Like, I just did. I was working so hard. I was trying to take care of my children and fulfill the promise that I had made to them. And I couldn't because these people continued to mess with me and they covered it up. There was statements that I had written that they were acting like I never wrote. And I would ask for those statements and they would act like there was no statement there. And then I would say, I know you got this one because I took a picture of it. And then they would come up with these statements afterwards. Like, oh, okay, yeah, here you go. They would produce it anyway, produce it afterwards. So after that happened, it got kind of bad in the end. Like, it just came to a point where, December 20th, I was getting so tired. I had an issue with another stomach infection that was really bad. And I was dealing with that. Dealing with the fact of going to work and actually working with those people. They made me sick day in and day out. I was so sick that I would go to the bathroom and be throwing up blood while I was at work. That's how sick I was. I would go to the bathroom and be throwing up blood because I was just so tired. I hadn't eaten anything. I was tired. And I just, at that point in time, I felt weak. And my memory was lapsing really bad. And I was struggling. So what I did was that on December 20th, I had spoke with one of the managers. I spoke to Gregory Kiefer, and I was telling him about some of the stuff. I didn't know if he was into that kind of stuff, but what was being said to me, the things that was happening. I would sit and I would watch the girl, Devin Failer. I would watch her watching him. Like she would stand on the stair and just be watching him throughout the day. And, just little stuff I would catch, and then, the things that they would allow her to do that they wouldn't allow, the things they allow her to do that they wouldn't allow anybody else to do. Like they wouldn't allow me to defend myself and say, against Curtis Manuel and Yolanda Procknell, when she had threatened me and said, oh, you couldn't make this thing go right here. Oh, okay, don't worry about it. I got you. And then I ended up having an issue there, or there was an issue there, and then I was stressed out the entire night, where she came back and she was harassing me throughout the entire night. And I was like, okay. So what they said was okay, it's going to be, they wanted to basically put me in a position that would make me, on December 20th, I was just like, I was so tired. I needed a break, and I'd asked for extra days off, because my body was just so tired. I'd asked for extra days off, and people were basically, they denied me the time. Like they gave me like a certain day or something like that, and then denied me the time. And I remember the guy Gregory Kiefer, on the last day I worked, that I had worked on December 20th, I remember him saying something about you not letting us know that this was your last day. And it was kind of weird, because earlier on that day, Curtis Manuel had said, I just wanted to say Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and if I never see you again, what did he say? I just wanted to say, if I never see you again, Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and try not to get into any car accidents or something like that. That was weird. So then I ended up, I'd asked for days, and then he said that, and I was like, I didn't really get it. I really didn't get it. I was just like in a place where I felt like, what is going on, in a twilight zone that had said. And then I was watching moments where I felt like I didn't know who I could trust, because I would go to him, but one day I had left my water bottle behind. And someone told me to go back and get the water bottle. And I seen him talking with the girl. I told him that, I felt like I was in distress. This person was doing this stuff and was causing this stuff to happen, like she was doing this to me. And I felt like I was in distress. So I didn't want to, I didn't feel comfortable working in that area. I felt like I was in distress. And I asked for his help with the work situation. And so he said, he was going to talk to Human Resources and get that worked out. Now, after that situation, then after they did whatever it was, I don't know what happened. I spoke with the lady, Brooke Zelmer, and she said, yeah, I spoke with Greg. I spoke with Greg, and they had a conversation with Greg, and then after that, she was trying to offer me severance. She was trying to offer me a severance, and I'm like, severance for what? Like I went on strike, and I took as much vacation time as I could because I'm like, y'all need to get the message that these people are doing things to people. They are doing things to people. And nobody's doing anything about it. Y'all keep saying that they don't have proof. And then I came up with videos. I came up with pictures. I came up with everything. Oh, and not to include, not to forget that on the very same day, December 20th, before I went home that day, Yolanda Prochnow said, "Hey, I just wanted to tell you, Candace, Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and don't get into any car accidents, or be careful on the road. Don't have any car accidents." And I was like, two people said that, and then one person said something, about our last day, and I'm like, what is y'all talking about? Like, I really didn't get it, but because it was like everything, I didn't feel good. I was sick, and everything was in a blur. I just felt like, what the hell is going on? I felt like I was drugged. I felt like I was being drugged. And I was just tired. Like, I needed to get home and rest. I felt like I needed to get home and rest. And that happened. Same day, my sister called and was like, yeah, I got into a car accident today. I turned on to, this area, whatever, so-and-so. And this lady turned right into me and totaled my car and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, wow, that happened. These people said this and they said that, blah, blah, blah. And, that kind of hurt my soul a little bit because, I had spent, of course, you get upset and you, like at that time when I was dealing with these people, I would start having flashes. And I took this stuff for myself. I took it for me. And I'm sorry, like, with the messages and stuff, like, I know about this whole system thing. But I took this stuff in as if it was me doing this stuff instead of the setup that was put on me for my life. I took it as it was me because when these people was doing horrible things to me, these flashes would come to my mind about specific people, and I would just feel it. Sometimes I would write it down. Sometimes I would burn it just to kind of, I would write it down to get it out of me, and then I would burn it to release it from me, like to get it away from me, and so that I could move on to better feelings. But it was just like, that was that. That was that. So I spoke with I ended up not taking a severance from Whirlpool because I was like, I'm going to be, no, I'm not taking that. So at first I was going to just bow out, like forget a whole situation. But then the messages and stuff started rolling in even harder, and they telling me, something is going to happen to me and my children. Like they really did it. Like they did it. And I was just like, wow, like I was stressed out. I was weak and going through a lot of stuff. And then you dealing with stuff like that. And then I dealt with on December 26th that me and my young son went through a situation where my son was having a seizure. And he was arrested in that seizure. Like he was really going through it and he was afraid. And I was scared and my chest was hurting me. And I didn't feel good before that either. But when that happened. It was just like, this is over with. I was mad and angry because my entire time I worked there, they messed over me, they played over me, they did so many things to me. And they got away with it. They got away with it. People looked at them do it, and they got away with it. And I had proof that these people was doing this stuff to me, and they got away with it. And I'm angry every single time that I see that this company is flourishing and that they're growing and that they're being successful, because they had horrible fucking people that was working there. They had horrible people that was working there and that was fucking over me, and they never did anything. The people that was messing with me, they walked free. And they tried to take something from me that I could not imagine. I just couldn't imagine that people could be that fucked up. That people could be this fucked up to try to take this from me. The witch Devin Failer. I know she didn't like me, but I tried really hard to get along with her because it was just more so, she would be nice and stuff to people, but she would treat me like I was slow. And there was one moment and situation toward the end of that time, she had me sign a paper, and they kept trying to catch me up in little different stuff. They kept trying to show me that I was at fault, like I was fought for doing or the things that I or the issues that they were having, that I was the fault for it. And I would literally be working, and I would catch them doing stuff, and it's like so it makes it hard. Like, you got to be trying to watch everybody else, and then you got to be trying to watch your work, and because you know that management is not going to do anything to help you. They're not. They're not going to be fair. They're not going to help you. I remember knowing that they knew that there was, I had cameras involved, that they were being recorded, because it's funny. I had posted something, a little bit of information for a certain, to see who from work would say something about it. I knew something would get said, or, but it came out in and some of the readings that was coming to something about video cameras, something about cameras, and that very same night, I was told that, blah, 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 this was going to happen, and you was going to know who was doing what by the tarot cards, something about some tarot cards. And the very same night at work, the girl that was a witch, she showed up with these cards, and she said, yeah, like I was telling him, you're going to have to make a decision and decide between so-and-so and so-and-so, because I can't keep, something about her keep going back and forth. She couldn't keep going back and forth with her. Something was going on with her, and she was showing the cards to Shelly. Her and Shelly was looking at those cards while we were at work. And I happened to look over at the cards, and I noticed, I'll never forget them, because I had been watching, as to show respect and support to other people that was in that, that was in that line, and interest in knowing how they came to be with that stuff. It was like, I would watch to see how they did and said what they said, and it was so accurate, at that point in time. I didn't realize that it was a system, but at that point in time, I was oh, like, wow, look at this, they accurate, they paying these people for the, whatever. But I started noticing that it started getting very negative at one point in time. I'm like, wow, it was positive. What happened to the positivity? Like, it went away, and then it become, very morbid kind of in a way. And I was like, wow, okay. And, when you get an information from a situation or something like this, and then, it's like horrible stuff happening, and you know that these people had something to do with it because they spoke this stuff out before I left. And then, just the thought of thinking and knowing that someone was taking that, and they was laughing and they was doing whatever. And there was even people from, when I was making these reports and stuff like that, there was a person that had came that was over that line, line 3 on overnights. The general person over that line, he came in and he looked over at me. He smiled. He stood there looking for a long time. And he smiled and he grinned at me. And then he walked wherever he was